So in today's episode of BizJet TV, we're going to talk about when I got egg on my face in a business jet transaction. I made a mistake. Yes, I make mistakes too. I don't always get it right. So I'm going to tell you the story of what happened to me. This just happened a couple of years ago. But before we get into that, welcome to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, I encourage you to subscribe. Lots of content here about business aviation. My name is Fabrizio Poli. I'm your aviation advisor. I also write for AVBUYER magazine. This is the latest issue. It's just come out here. I did an article on Elon Musk and his brother and their usage of private jets in there, as you can see. And I write for them every month. We've got a great collaboration going here with the guys over at AVBUYER magazine. So you can click on the link below to my articles. Did a whole series, and this year as well doing a whole series on private jet owners on how they use their aircraft to build their business, and that's very, very interesting, very, very practical, which is important. Now, let's get into what happened to me, egg on my face. Well, it all started with BizJet TV. One of the many subscribers, fans, and that was watching BizJet TV. He just sold his company for over $150 million, featured in Forbes magazine in that. And he wanted to lease a private jet. Now, one of the things I do is I mainly buy aircraft for people and lease aircraft for people. So people reach out to me when they need an aircraft, and I go out there and source the market and put the whole solution together, coordinate things with the lawyers for pre-buy inspection, set up pilots for the aircraft, flight attendants, and that's kind of what I do. So I work for you. I'm not one of these people that lists aircraft for sale. They work for the seller. I mainly work for the buyer. Now and again, I do have sellers contact me to sell their aircraft, but I'd say 80% of what I do is representing buyers more than sellers. So in this situation, this guy needed an aircraft for 12 months, and I had a couple of options for him. So we spoke on the Friday. I sent out my invoice on the Monday. My retainer fee lands on my account. I organized to see a Global Express that we were going to see. It was actually a Global 6000. We're going to see it at Biggin Hill Airport in the UK. So I drive down from Manchester, where I am in the UK. We meet. This guy built up rapport with me over a Zoom call and over YouTube over the time that he'd been watching the channel. He gets out of his Rolls Royce, gives me a hug, doesn't even shake my hand, gives me a hug just to see how the relationship was strong there. So off we go. We sat in the airplane for a few hours with the chief pilot of the owner, discussing how we were going to do the lease and everything. I was quite happy with the airplane, but then at the time, and this is where the interesting part comes into it, I had two companies. I had Orville Aviation, which I still have, which is my consulting company, and then I was a partner in another company in the United States with other 8 business partners. And what we were doing at the time is we were looking to raise a certain amount of money to go out and buy a series of companies in the space and aviation sector and get them working together, and then create a SPAC and then float the company. That's kind of what the project was. And we had some investors, or let's say investors that called themselves investors, that had signed an agreement for $600 million, but no money had materialized yet. And I was thinking, well, maybe we need to look for another investor. So what I did is, as my own company, I took the retainer fee, and then I was going to take the lease, once the lease was signed, the lease into the new company, and we would manage the aircraft. So that would show investors that we have one asset under management. That was the strategy, which I still to today think was a good strategy. So anyway, the owner of the aircraft didn't want us to manage the aircraft. He wanted somebody else to do it, and I really wanted this team of mine to manage the aircraft. So anyway, we didn't do the lease on the Global 6000. I found a Gulfstream G550 for the client. Client was happy with it. So I hand over to my team to work out all the numbers. So they work away for 3 or 4 days, and then I get this proposal in my computer, and I look at it, and I look at the number, and I think, it's $120,000 higher than what it should be. So I ring 2 team members that worked on the proposal, and I said, why is it $120,000 over what it should be? Oh, no, it isn't, because hours are included. Oh, okay, hours are included. Okay, fine. So I trusted what they told me, and I sent the proposal over to the client. Client goes quiet for 3 days, which I start to get a bit suspicious. And then he calls me one Saturday morning and says, Fab, you're profiteering $120,000 a month on this deal. So my family office tell me. As soon as he said that number, I thought, he's right. That's exactly what I thought when I looked at the deal. But my team said hours are included. So I said to him, well, hours are included. And he said, are you sure? So I said, well, let me check. But anyway, because you sent this proposal, my family office have told me not to do business with you. I mean, keep the retainer fee. We'll use you for some advice, but we won't be leasing an airplane through your company. And that was it. He was very gracious with me. He was very kind. He was very courteous. He didn't use any bad language over the phone. He didn't shout or anything. He was very respectful. But at the end of the day, he was right. I mean, I made a mistake. Now, I could blame it on my team, but at the end of the day, who put the team together? I did. So the buck stops with me. But, being a curious person, I wanted to dig and find out, well, where did this $120,000 number come from? So I start digging and look into the detail and question my team. Well, how did that number come up? How did that? We go through all the items on the lease and how they came up with the various numbers. And it turns out that $160,000 was for pilot training of one of the members of the team and his son that wanted to be type rated on the Gulfstream. And I'm like, why on earth are you getting rated on the Gulfstream for a 12-month lease? It doesn't make sense. Why should the client pay to type rate 2 new guys on the airplane, which is $160,000, when I already have a list of 10 Gulfstream rated pilots that we can use? That's not going to cost the client anything. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing they say to me, well, you've got a team now and the team need to be paid. And I'm like, what? Now, whether the team is 100 people, and I said to them, look, there's a famous Canadian company out there that do these leases, and they make between $10,000 to $25,000 a month, and they have 100 employees. And they're not charging $120,000 because of the team. This is just not on. This is not on. The guy was right. So then the next thing I asked myself was, why did they act the way they acted? Why did they come up with this number? And it's because we had this $600 million deal, or supposedly $600 million deal, and everybody had false expectations of the aviation business, as a lot of people do. And so I thought to myself, the problem is these investor people. So we say to them that they've got 3 or 4 days to come up with $250,000 and show us this money, send us this money, or the deal's off. And I said, let's put it to the vote. And if the vote goes in the direction of, no, we don't do that, we don't ask the client for $250,000, I will leave the company. I will resign immediately, and I will let all my shares go and my backdated salary, because obviously the company had no money. So we had a contract. We had contracts with the company, and there was backdated salaries that would be paid once the investment money came in. That's the way it had been structured. So I said, I'll walk away from all that. So we went to the vote, all 9 of us. I obviously voted to give an ultimatum to the client. So did somebody else. Another person abstained. So that's 3 of us. And the other 6 all voted to not give the client an ultimatum. So consequently, I signed the documents and left the company. So did my other colleague that voted to give an ultimatum. While the one that abstained, as far as I'm concerned, that was stabbing me in the back. So I no longer talk to him. And the other 6 of, history to me as well. I don't think, even though some of these people had degrees from very prominent universities, which I'm not going to name, they just didn't realize that these investors, or so-called investors with 600 million, which they didn't have, and were never going to have, that, this deal wasn't going to happen, and it given everybody false expectations. So, I'm not going to work with people like that. And I got egg on my face. I'm the one that's out here on BizJet TV. I'm the one that met face-to-face with the client. I'm the one that built a relationship with the client, and at the end of the day, I was being nice, because I could have easily done that lease and had somebody else manage the airplane like I've done in the past, and just taken my commission every month, and that would have worked. But no, I wanted to help out the team over at the other company where I was a partner of, and to help this project get underway. And by doing this, I basically got egg on my face. So ultimately, it's my mistake. Ultimately, it's my fault. It's my responsibility that this deal went south. And this client, he already told me he would have led me to at least another 3 or 4 clients. And I told my team, I said, look, guys, these deals are not easy to find, okay? And this deal found me. And I was kind enough to bring it over to you guys, and even if we would have made 110, 15,000 a month, I would have been happy to have shared that money with the rest of the company, but just to show the company had an asset under management, which would have helped to then gain other investment. But no, they didn't see it, which is fine. I wish them the best of luck with everything. Let's get the comments going. What do you think about this hiccup that happened to me, the egg on my face? Have you ever had an egg on your face in a business deal? And what did you learn from it? And if you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, subscribe to BizJet TV. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and a super thanks. And check out this other video about market predictions for 2023 and my take on what's going to be happening in the business jet market this year. And that's all from Fabrizio Poli on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.